2019 February. That is when the grant was formally approved, and it has been able to contribute towards the enjoyment of women rights and also progressively contributing to gender equality through working with the women rights organizations and women movements in Kenya.
It's very critical to us. I mean, what we want is to create this dispensation and this space where we will actualize women's rights and women's voice as we try to beat up support drums for our sisters.
How best can we be able to approach strategies for mitigation of violence against women, or be it teen pregnancies or elimination of retrogressive progress in an innovative way that speaks to the community that they seek to deliver services from?
We have been convening women to ensure that the women's movement is continuously giving pushback in regards to the implementation.
And the ultimate goal is to see enjoyment of these rights by women and girls, and also institutionalized improvement of women rights organizations and movements, strengthened capacities of women rights organizations, and also the networking and alliance building efforts that are able to sustain a healthy women's movement in Kenya.
After the WVL project, as QEPs, we've been able to achieve a lot. We have been able to prepare policies and manuals that guide us in our day-to-day activities. We were able even to start our own table banking project through the resource mobilization training, and members are actively giving towards the sustainability of the organization.
When you come to the coast, you'll see very many marginalized communities. Like we have many problems with the girl child. There's early pregnancies, early marriages. Then within the coastal regions, you also find there are quite a lot of defilement cases that at times go undocumented or are discussed within communities and left at that. And I've also felt the need to empower our community.
When you involve women much on politics or leadership, there is a lot of parts that they can help, because whatever happens, a woman is a backbone of a society.
We realized how many gaps we have in the organizations, from the structures, the systems, how we run things, in our finance, just basic things. But this is something that we're all learning as we're going along. So of course there's some things that we had absolutely no idea.
We now feel that we have that capacity with the continued training from the WVL project. We feel that our organization is now strong. We have the policies. The board members are able to meet regularly. The staff members are able to meet regularly and come up with plans on how they are going to address issues that affect women and girls.
We've been able to also notably see a lot of vibrancy and also efforts towards a sustained women's rights movement that has been able to also provide platforms both at the local level, that is at a grassroots level, national level, and also regional level, to advance advocacy efforts and also networking and alliance building support.
We also provide a lot of legal support because part of eliminating and mitigating gender-based violence entails reporting matters of violation and abuse. And so in the process, we capacity build them on how to refer survivors of gender-based violence.
We needed to align our vision that was so big for a young and upcoming organization vis-a-vis the age of the organization.
Session. It's not a first time interacting with her or with the team. I was with them like 2 or 3 weeks ago somewhere. Professional. So ladies and gentlemen, kings and queens, please help me welcome Isabella Mwangi from CREW, the program officer. Tafadhali, the round of applause. Yes. Tupige afike makofi. DJ, mwekele kitu. Wekelea kitu pale. Yes, 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 yes. Drop it, drop it, drop it. Hey! Wewe! Hey! Hey! Twende! Aya, ya, 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 ya. Hey! Weka dance, weka dance, weka dance. A big 1, 2, 3, twende! Hey, hey! Wewe! Aya, ya. Pull up! I know you can dance the whole day. Let's cut it there.
Oh, this is okay. All right. Yeah, it's now good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. This is the last panel, and it is about alliance building, networking, and collectives. And so we want to finish this panel session with a big bang. Say a big bang. Good. So this conversation is going to look into the role of networks, women and youth, or rather girls' networks, alliances, and collectives in being able to influence policy, legal, and social change in Kenya. And so the conversation is going to delve specifically into looking into the aspects of the work that our WROs have done and the impact it has had in our community, and also trying to connect it with what has happened within the nation and the region in totality. So for this conversation, please help me in inviting the following brilliant ladies to the stage. One, we have Gladys Getonga, Association of Professional Women with Disability. Gladys. Yeah, also, usikwe discriminatory na hiyo music. And then we have Evelyn Kahemba, Pambazuko la Wanawake, Magharibi. And then the third panelist is Sharon Kechula, Amwik. Sharon, karibu sana. And then we have Beldina from Sauti ya Wanawake. Thanks. And then we have Stella Lochodo from Pokot, from Potuma. And then lastly, we have Carol Raj from Wycliffe. A big round of applause for Caroline. Aye, was that a clap? Thank you very much. As you can see, they got the brief to be colorful, and they've also brought their smiles with them, and of importance, they have brought their competence with them. And so for us, this conversation, we are having it on the background of, and I'm sure you're all aware, we are living in times where our rights have regressed. We are living currently with a government that has no problem in curtailing most of our rights. And we are also living in times where we are seeing the anti-gender and anti-rights movement being very emboldened to misinform and disinform us. And this has then translated into laws, which I think Milka had spoken about, laws that are not aligning with what we have been able to do to this point. For example, we have the sexual and reproductive health policy that clearly articulates that our children can learn about anything else in this country, in this world. They will go to campus at the age of 18, 19. They can start driving, but they will only learn about sexual and reproductive health, or rather sex education, when they attain the age of 21. That is what our current policy says. We also have a huge pushback currently in judiciary, especially on issues around what we are calling mandatory minimum sentencing for sexual offenses, where we are seeing courts asking if Mwende was touched by man X, was that really an offense, or did she not like it? Why should we punish this man for 21 years, yet that is the most obvious thing that will happen to Mwende anyway later in life? We also are very familiar with the increase of femicide in this country. I think we are aware that in January we had one of the biggest marches that spread across this country. We are now having conversation around unpaid care, and this has led courts to give us very controversial jurisprudence every week on issues around matrimonial, property, and succession. And lastly, there has been an increase in sexual harassment. And if you have been keeping up, 2 weeks ago, there was a judgment that came from the High Court by Judge Rika, who was actually saying, I don't understand what are these sexual harassment policies. Why are you curtailing people's privacy? Why should I go and tell my HR, we have a HR officer in our office, that there is a man called Chalo, whom if I fall in love with someone from our okay, maybe love is a strong word. If I like someone and we are in such a setup and anything happens, I should go and tell Chalo that this happened. And so the judge is of the opinion, sexual harassment cannot take place in a workspace. Aren't you not an adult? Were you not employed as an adult? So how are you being harassed in the workplace? And so we are seeing a lot of pushback on what entails sexual harassment. Meanwhile, at our offices, if you have HR officers, they are going to come and tell you cannot have workplace relations. And so to be able to counter this, we are more and more understanding every day that this cannot be an individual fight. It cannot be one organization fight. Hence, today our conversation is going to be around network, alliance, and collectives, who are very crucial in shaping our narratives as women in their diversity, influencing positive change in norms, influencing judicial decisions and law reforms, and being able to see what benefit is there in being able to do this as a collective, and how best can we sustain this. And I will not give examples because I think we are very aware, being in this space, some of the good things that have been done because of alliance building and networking. For example, how we came about to have the Sexual Offences Act, the 2/3 principle. We have the most recent, which is what do you think has been the most recent action of alliance building, networking, and collectives? Most recent act that has happened in Kenya? The Gen Z movement. The Gen Z/millennial movement. That has been very powerful. Femicide in January. And then lastly, it's also issues around the right of association. A very powerful judgment that was given by the Supreme Court on the right of organizations in their diversity to be able to associate. And lastly, it's being able to have this conversation, to contextualize it based on how have our WROs contributed either at the county or national level on this conversation. And so our discussion is going to take place in three parts. One, we are going to hear what's the role of alliance building and the impact it has had. Then two, we are going to look at the spirit or the importance of collaboration and solidarity. And then lastly, we are going to have a discussion around how do we sustain the momentum, and we'll have our closing by them reflecting on their lessons learned. So as I walk, can we just give them a clap to refresh their memories? So let us start off by being able to think about the alliances that we work with. What are some of the most significant impact we have been able to contribute to as an alliance, either at national or at county level? And I'll start with Amwek.
Hello everyone, my name is Sharon Kechula from the Association of Media Women in Kenya, that is Amwek. Amwek is a national organization that brings together journalists, editors, media practitioners together who are female to amplify the voices of women in Kenya and use media as a catalyst for change and advocacy. Amwek cross-cuts along many issues. But for now, I just want to talk about 2020 during the pandemic. There was a lot of spike in gender-based violence at the time. And there are so many issues that are attributed to that. But at that time, we came together with like-minded organizations to just be able to coordinate and make sure that we amplify the voices of women online, and came up with the hashtag that, looked at issues that when people were facing gender-based violence within their households, they were able to then follow with that hashtag and also report to helplines. This particular hashtag gathered in evidence to support the movements and implementation of the Maputo Protocol and also the CEDAW recommendations in Kenya. And how that has also helped, it has helped in shaping the narrative around the influencing of changes for the 2019 GBV legal framework, which, as you all know, the policy lobbying is a continuous process, and some of that evidence has been used to improve that 2019 GBV framework in Kenya.
Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. You look good from here. I didn't come here. I've just come here and feel the room is good. Okay, this is Evelyn Haemba from Pambazuko la Wanawake Magharibi. Pambazuko la Wanawake Magharibi in itself is a network of women community-based organizations in the whole of Western and Nyanza region. So we cut across all the 10 counties. So it brings together community-based women groups. In themselves, they have their names as community-based women groups, but then we meet together at Pambazuko la Wanawake Magharibi, and our core mandate is just to have a strong voice in the region so that we can advocate and address the issues affecting women and girls. So these women groups are drawn from, they worked around various issues. We have women groups that work around widows. We know the issues of widows, especially in the Nyanza region, of widow inheritance and disinheritance, land rights for women, violence against women and girls in terms of physical violence, sexual violence, and all those, education for girls. We have a group of women who are women with disabilities. So how do we look around the issues affecting women in terms of violence against women with disabilities? And in this region, remember, we have, that is where we have even the lake, we have the fisherfolk community. So even the women that are engaged in the fishing industry, they have challenges. We have women who are farmers. So Pambazuko is on the tarmac, in the tarmac, and off the tarmac. So you find that the women are in the rural areas, and farming is one of their activities that brings them income. But then again, they have challenges. But altogether, you find that at the end of the day, it culminates into violence against women. So as much as we are diverse, but how can we also come together in our diversity to address our issues? So we're working at the county levels, but then we also live to the fact that some of these processes and some of the interventions need the national outlook. So we work together at the county level addressing the issues of women at the county level and girls, but then again, we join hands with the national organizations, because if in terms of policies, there are some policies which are addressed and some processes and policy advocacy processes which are only anchored at the national level. For example, if you're talking about the 2/3 gender, it does not just affect Migori County, it does not just affect Kakamega County, but this is a national issue. So that is how Pambazuko la Wanawake Magharibi, that's how we work, and that is our structure. Thank you.
Thank you. And just before you hand it over, Evelyn, name any specific, like the way we have heard from Amwick, they were able to do law reforms on issues around the GBV framework. Can you just mention just one in less than 30 seconds? Just one change that has happened because of Palamua's
Pambazuko la Wanawake Magharibi was in the forefront in advocating and for the Public Participation Act for Kisumu County. And Kisumu County is one of the counties that were in the initial stages one of the counties that actually put this place into act after devolution. Some of the counties have not even done that yet, but Kisumu County has, and Pambazuko Lanake Magharibi was on the forefront for doing this. We are still in the process of advocating for the 2/3 gender realization together with other actors as members of the National Women's Steering Committee. So that is just one of the examples, but we are also again currently working on the gender mainstreaming bill that is to see the light of the day for Kisumu County, and even the Public Participation Act for Homa Bay County, among others. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Over to you, Ms. Kitonga.
Hi, everyone. My name is Gladys Gitonga of Professional Women with Disabilities. It is an organization that does and drives social change in women with disabilities, girls with disabilities, and mothers of children. And in our space, we try to influence on disability issues, disability mainstreaming, in terms of avoiding what, like if I mentioned what happened yesterday, you go to a place and it's not inclusive of the persons with disabilities. The rest of the compound, I can tell you, in this place is very okay. But what about the podium? You can have like a facility like this one, which has everything that is inclusive, that is accessible, but how do you get here? Is it accessible to a person when they are coming with using public means? Is whatever is here, can it be accessed by a blind person? Is a deaf person able to come here and be in the meeting and feel that they're in the right place? So I think that's the main thing that we do. And I would encourage us to make effort to learn about disability etiquette, because like yesterday when you carry Lucy up here, that's if she's not well, already accepted herself and is still working on her self-esteem, she might feel not dignified in this place, and might not even, you can imagine, you're coming here in whatever state you are, because a wheelchair is part of your body when you're using a wheelchair. You can imagine as a woman, if you want to come to this podium and somebody wants to carry you, how would that feel for you? Yeah. It would not feel very nice. And that is the way you should always know that any assistive device is part of the person's body. The way you wouldn't want somebody to touch your laps. The way you wouldn't want somebody to come and just place their hands on their shoulder. It's the same way a person on a wheelchair would want to be independent and be able to do whatever they are doing without you helping them unless they ask for the help. So you're the one who is supposed to be able to adjust, like maybe you can move the podium to down here, the rest of us move down here instead of carrying somebody up here. And those are some of the things that is important to learn as a disability etiquette. I hope every one of us would invite us to just learn what inclusion is and what disability etiquette is. And just maybe to add on what policies and maybe what we've been trying to push. Right now we are in transition to CBC. And the problem that you see that we don't accept persons with disabilities, or we think that they are disabled because we are the ones who make them disabled, it's because we don't learn, we don't live with them from the beginning. Like previously, the schools or the primary schools, most of the times, they used to have a special unit. Now there is something that, there is a bill that is the Learners with Disabilities bill that is going on, which we've tried to push, and we've worked with other people to ensure that the learners with disabilities and without disabilities are in the same class. So that when they are growing up, they know how to coexist, because they won't come, the persons with disability don't live in their own world, they'll come to this world. And so if a young person is able to live with a person with disability from the time they are young, even when they grow up, it's very easy to integrate with them in the society. And that is one of the, I think that is the main thing that we've been trying to follow up. And it's in the process, it's been moving, but it's slow but moving. But at least now in some of the schools that we visit, we can see that they have started admitting learners with disabilities in the regular classes, which is a good move. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hi everyone. My name is Beldine Otieno from Sauti ya Wanawake organization. Sauti ya Wanawake is a women rights movement at the coastal region. So we work and operate in the 6 counties of the coastal region through a membership of grassroots women. So we have about 9,500 women who are members of Sauti ya Wanawake organization spread across the 6 counties. So we work in various areas, but at the coast, we say we talk women, we preach women, we sleep women. Everything that we do is about women, about girls and children. So at the county level, we have been working on various issues, like on issues of education, whereby we have been advocating for women to go back to school, and or girls who have dropped out of school to go back to school. So we have quite a number of girls who've gone back to school, did their Form 4 exams, and even proceeded way to the colleges. And then also we work on issues of GBV, gender-based violence, whereby we have actively been advocating for the counties to come up with policies like the SGBV bill, the SGBV policy, the gender mainstreaming policy, and we have been able to lobby, participate highly technically by even taking the counties through understanding how they can develop the policies, especially the SGBV one. So through the lobbying and pushing for the policies, we've managed to have at least 3 counties that have passed the SGBV bill that is now an act. And we have 2 counties that have passed the gender mainstreaming policy. And through the efforts whereby we brought the grassroots women on board also to push and have and discuss and put their voices throughout the processes, then we've, as Sauti ya Wanawake, we've managed to be appointed to sit at the SGBV board in one of the counties in Kwale County, whereby we sit to support the county now to implement the SGBV Act that they just passed. Then also we have managed also to participate, to mobilize women to participate in the Public Participation Act that was being developed at the county level. So they've also put up their voices. We've managed to develop memorandums, put them up and shared with the county. Some of the memorandums we've managed to share with the Office of the Women Representative, whereby we felt probably the National Government Affirmative Action Fund was not working well or was not taking care of all the women, whereby women with disability were being left behind, or rather a certain category of women were not being given priority to also get the National Government Affirmative Action Fund. So through the WVL, we've managed to put up memorandum to the women representative, and it was taken up. And at least we are grateful that at least three women groups were prioritized to get the National Government Affirmative Action Fund in this round that has just passed. And then at the national level, we've also put up our voices at the Maputo Protocol. We have the Beijing Plus 30, whereby we have mobilized our young women to participate at the Beijing Plus 30 youth spaces that are taking up. We have just recently the X spaces that was hosted through Femnet and other women rights organizations. So we have our women who have participated. Then at the Beijing Plus 30 CSOs, that is where by now Sauti as an organization is where by now we've brought the other women now to put up their voices so that at least we can share what is happening and see through how we can also work together with our other partners to support some of the women and young women to also go to Addis and attend the Beijing Plus 30 that will be taking place in this October. Thank you.
Just before you hand over, Beldin, you've just been saying county.
Oh, sorry.
Does it have a name?
Sorry. For the, okay, in the 6 counties that we work in, that is from Mombasa, Kilifi, Kwale, Taita Taveta, Lamu, and Tana River. For the SGBV Act that I was talking about, we've managed to lobby for, the ones that have been passed is for the Taita Taveta County, the Kwale County, and the Kilifi County. And then for the SGBV policy, we have the one that have been passed is for Kilifi County and Kwale County as well. And the gender mainstreaming policy is for the Kwale County and the Kilifi County. And the SGBV board that I spoke about, we are sitting in a Sauti ya Wanawake organization, is for the Kwale County. In Mombasa County, we've managed to lobby for the policies, but now we are having the SGBV policy now that have been tabled at the county assembly, just awaiting to be passed. Counties are on different levels. In our work, we have experienced there are counties that are quite easy, and when the policies go to the county assembly, they embrace it more faster, they believe in the processes, and it works easy. An example is like Kwale County. For Mombasa, we have been struggling here and there because it is on a different level and politics is at play. So we still push through and believe we will manage. Thank you.
Thank you. Same question in terms of where you work, the alliance that you currently are in. What has been the most significant impact either at county or national level? And just mention maybe one or two reforms that have happened due to the alliance.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I'm Stella Lochodo. Stella comes from the Republic of Turkana, because when we travel from Turkana to these sides, we say we go to Kenya. Geographically, we are in Kenya. Practically, we are not in Kenya. And Stella deals with the 4 counties: the county of Turkana, the county of West Pokot, the county of Marakwet, the county of Baringo. We are dealing with the issues of peace and sustainability, because our counties where we border, we've been fighting for so long, and the women and children get affected so much. And the wars in those areas started as a cultural thing that people were doing as prestige, those ones who are practicing, and then now it culminated to political incitements and other negative vices that people are practicing. So we sat as women and said that how can we look at these issues at a woman's lens, that now we are affected. The same men who come here to be the solution providers are the ones who are again behind there doing some incitements, drawing cards, threatening communities that if you elect me, if you put me here, I will push this community to here, I will take this part of this county. And now the incitements gets high and people get fighting. At the end of the day, women now get suffer, and children. When we formed Potuma Women Peace Network, we integrated with other issues of GBV, early marriages, and negative cultural practices, because they were going along and affecting us. When the rest of Kenya is discussing about progressing issues, as we are still behind there, wanting to click and go at par with the rest of Kenya. I am the CEO, Potuma Women Peace Network. Lina JB Kilimo, she's the patron of our network. And when Crown Trust and WVL heard about Potuma, they reached us themselves. And those are the people that held our hands and made us to be where we are today. And we came into contact with several policies through them, come to learn about the GBV, how to do our advocacy, how to prevent, how to save our girls. Where the that gender principle again, that our women, whenever they see Daisy on television, they call each other, have you seen Daisy sitting on the seat? Listen now. She will touch our issues, and they own her there. So we take those policies, we take those the issues that are being tackled in Kenya, and we trickle down to our local women there, because we trickle it down and we give them to our vernacular languages until they understand what is going on in Kenya. So to us, through WVL, we were able to produce our strategic plan as Potuma. We were able to validate it, to review and validate. We have been able to train women to manage their small finances. We've been able to train women on how to protect themselves, or where to go and seek for legal redress for the matters of GBV, gender-based violence, that is so rampant in our areas. When we talk about those issues, they are very, very much different from what the rest of Kenya is facing, because we are still down there. For instance, there is a lady, her husband just plucked her teeth, beat her, broke the jaw, and they came to look for us. We go there to save this woman with other organizations like the Catholic Justice and Peace. When we take the matter to the courts, now the woman again comes against us and tells us, when you want to jail my husband, what will the community say I am? I'm a divorcee, I don't have a husband. And the husband has just done a lot of harm to her body. She's not even enjoying. And even the heart she built with her hands, she was chased away from that. So we go back to the drawing board. How do we again capacity build these women so that they know that it is their right to live fully? It is their rights also to have a sanctity in their life and to be whole. Not just to vumilia in marriages, yet they are suffering. And when you come to help them again, they turn against with their husbands, with the local authorities, which is a male-dominated space, and we don't have what to say in that matter. Again, the political incitements, though we go through the county governments to spell out our policies, to spell out our visions and mission, to spell out our activities, and to seek for support even in security matters. But when they go to their drawing board, they are the ones again who are pushing us. They are the ones again who are blackmailing us and telling these women want to chanwa the rest of the women in this region. Because they believe that some of us who have gone to school, they are the ones who are spoiling the others. So you take time to educate them, to have meetings, and even when we sit as women and contribute sanitary towels, we want to give to, we go to a baraza, chief's baraza, where the MCA is, where the ward admin is. Then we say we have brought sanitary towels, we want to help our community in this area so that our girls and women also get them. And then an MCA will just stand up and say, I have a question. Sanitary towels, he omits the word sanitary. Now, if you are giving girls towels, how about boys? When are they getting their towels? And then you take time to explain what it means, and then the man now stands, oh, that thing, the one that women, and then does like this. Oh, that is yours. So, you get like, people are just in their own world. Even those ones who expect to make some policies at the county assemblies. It is you again who are coming to educate them. It's you again who are coming to give them information. Are we getting it?
Yes.
That is what we've been doing as Potuma. And when it comes to funding from the donors, sometimes we are supported and we feel good. But we feel like we are tackling 4 counties. Turkana is vast. West Pokot again, Marakwet again, reaching all these women, and we have got about 4,000, 1,000 in each county. You cannot reach them because the resources are small sometimes. Sometimes the donor gives us some little money, and you are few, you are many, and you are tackling several counties that are vast. So you find it so challenging That is why I came here today, so that I hear what the rest of Kenyans are sharing and other networks, so that we grow together.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. Good afternoon. My name is Caroline Ruka. I am the Executive Director for Western Kenya LBQT Feminist Forum. We are a feminist organization that centers intersectional feminism in all our advocacy actions, with the main aim of creating spaces for access for LBQ and ITGNC persons. We are based in Kisumu and work through Western Kenya. So I'm also like the chairperson of the Western Kenya LBQ Organizations Collective, and also in charge of advocacy and policy at the Western Kenya LGBTI sex workers situation room. The reason why I needed to highlight these kinds of networks is because of the work that we've been able to do because of collaboration and coming together as LGBTI organizations. We are aware of the context of the country when it comes to criminalization of same-sex consensual acts between adults. And we are also aware of the recent court ruling that Isabella talked about around freedom of association and allowing LGBTI organizations to register, and the implications that came with that. So we have been able, through networking and collaboration and coming together, we've been able to leverage spaces so that we can counter the rise and the growing anti-rights and anti-LGBTI movement that has been spearheaded by religious leaders and political wing. So one of the things that we've been able to manage and to achieve by coming together is being able to stop. You see, like currently there are no demonstrations around the anti-LGBTI movement, and also curtail some of these hate speech and hate comments that were coming from political and religious leaders like Muhammad Ali, amongst others, through using strategic litigation and going to court, coming together, going to court and stopping these kinds of violations. We've also been able, like for instance in Kisumu County is around the 6th county to have a national county-specific mental health action plan, but Kisumu County is actually the only county within Kenya that has been able to deliberately include sexual and gender minorities within the county action plan, and also within the implementation framework of the action plan. And this is because of the collaborations and the linkages, and also the intersectional form of advocacy that sexual and gender minority organizations have been able to put in place. So I'll be able to share some of the other achievements that we have through collaborations and networking as we go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I hope you have been taking note and you're cognizant that the diversification that you've been able to see here, from issues around sexual minorities, from issues around women in conflict or being able to voice their issues during conflict, for women who are working with both youth in rural and urban areas, associations that are working with persons living with disability, and also being able to look at issues around media being very influential in doing all this. And so for me, and on all the impact that you have been able to do. And so I just want us to mention just about one strategy that you think has been the most useful strategy for you, that has enabled you to be able to attain some of the good work or impact that you've been able to do. Just one strategy.
One of the strategies that we have been able to employ, and this is by the support of the WVL, we were able to introduce the issue of sexual harassment in media houses, because this actually affects what we see in terms of the reporting and the issues that we are trying to represent here as women rights organization. That strategy basically encompass bringing together media practitioners. We are talking at Kenya Media Sector Working Group, incorporating editors, incorporating journalists, freelancers, correspondents, community media houses, managers, all those kind of people within the media space, but also linking them to the national outfit, which is currently I will talk about the recent engagement that we were able to do through the WVL. We were able to reconvene the Kenya Media Sector Working Group, which AMWIC is mandated to lead discussions on gender issues and champion the next steps for sexual harassment in media. And part of it is incorporating the very unique challenges that we see around sexual harassment and how they impact on reporting and women's representation in newsrooms to the national tool for data collection, which we are all here cognizant that if it did not happen, if it was not recorded, it did not happen. So we are working with the National Gender and Equality Commission to incorporate the very specific issues that come from the media houses to the national reporting tool.
Fantastic. So AMWIC has been able to pick up on one of the most rampant issues that happens in the media houses, which is sexual harassment, and use your voices then to see how it can also influence other professions and other informal as well as informal and formal workspaces.
Yes, we have been able to pick up on that because when we're looking at the issues of sexual harassment in media, we cannot isolate them on gender-based violence in its entirety. So I would want to sort of like shortly educate a little bit on how media works. So we are looking at gender responsive reporting and inclusivity and representation. But then all these issues are affected by specific nuances within the media house. So for instance, a journalist will go collect news, but for them to be able to edit, to publish, they need the will of the editor or the intake editor who dictates what goes on air. And that is where the transaction comes in. Sometimes they're going to look for information from respondents, and the respondents actually sexually abuse them or, harass them for exchange of information. Sometimes it's just within the newsroom where, for instance, I will share our secrets. I believe this is a safe space, right? So some journalists are sent out for assignments specifically because of how they look, which politician likes them, what politician likes what in terms of the female anatomy, and all those kind of considerations. Unfortunately, that is the reality. And as journalists who are storytellers, their stories never get told. And these are issues that actually affect how our issues are represented within the newsrooms. So given that, we're able to then tie it in the vices that happen in our society and also cascade it to community media houses where largely run by politicians, very strong connected people within the counties, which then affects even the output at the community media houses. Unfortunately, I could go on and on and on, but those are just some of the areas that we've been able to tie.
Thank you very much.
For Pambazuko la Wanawake Magharibi, one strategy that we use is not reinventing the wheel. We go to the community and we already work with the structures that are already there and the opportunities that are already there. For example, if you're working on issues of working with survivors and supporting survivors to access legal, psychosocial, and maybe even medical support, we work with the government and outside government structures and opportunities that are already there. You shall say that Pambazuko la Wanawake Magharibi, in most cases, it's very rare that you'll find us in the hotel setup. We sit under the trees with the women. We sit in the church forums, and we sit in those structures. We sit in the women groups. We work with already the paralegals that are there. We work with the community health providers and the national government officers. And even when we were working with the other people at the higher ranking, for example, the judiciary, we welcome them and we invite them and bring them down to the locals, bring them down to those spaces. So in this way, you find that the community, and especially the women and girls who are even survivors of violence, they become easy even approaching like the security officers, because you are always with them down there. It becomes easy for them even to understand court processes and what it means by having a watertight case. So this one has seen as having wins, especially if you are working on the cases of sexual sexual violations against women and girls. We have had so far, like last year, there are not many, but we had 2 perpetrators who are now serving in Kodiaga, and one of them is actually one who has had cases over a long period. But when we started working and using this strategy of the community themselves getting in charge and working with the community, we meet them at where they are. So this is the strategy that has really worked for us. You're talking about having trainings. We conduct them at those community setups and at the community structures and that are there. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I think what I would say our strategy has been is looking at what works for women. You realize even a woman who doesn't know how to write, whether they don't know how to express themselves, if they are given an opportunity to give their experiences in a story, you find that it comes out so well. You know, the way as ladies, when we hear that we are meeting, we want to sit properly, face each other, and high fives. You will get a lot of information when you do that. Getting information through giving the ladies an opportunity to give their stories, their experiences, especially the women who have children with disabilities. Their stories are usually very similar. So you realize maybe somebody has been sitting in the house for so many years, thinks that they're the only ones who experience what they've been going through, taking care of their child. But the minute they come to the meetings and listen to other people's stories, there is one time we had a meeting, and one lady who had never come to a meeting came. She has a child who has autism. Autism is, and the child is very hyper and very many other things. So when she came to the meeting, I think she had not been out of the house for a very long time. So she came to the meeting. I don't know how we call it, matutas. Yeah. She came, she wasn't dressed up, and she just came. And because that is the way she's used to living. So I think after giving her experience of how she was left by the husband and how she left her job to take care, she's an accountant by profession, but she had to leave her job to take care of her child. And I think now there is a way she disconnected from the society. So even when she's coming, it's just like she's going to the shamba. So after the first meeting, she interacted and she gave her story. She listened to other stories from other women. The next meeting, she was so bright. You wouldn't even know she was the one. She came dressed up. She had gone to the salon knowing that she was coming to a meeting. And you would realize that that is a very different person from the person we met the first time. So just realizing a strategy that there is things that work for women and take advantage of them, I think that has really worked for us.
Thank you very much. And I think that that's quite powerful, just being able to understand that in the spaces that we work in, we must be able to understand the nuances that are there. So asante sana for that story. Beldina?
Thank you. For us, through the WVL, we decided to bring the women leaders on the forefront so that they can have a sitting together with all the other actors and the duty bearers who work on issues of gender and GBV. So through that, we were able to set up accountability platforms whereby in that platforms we have women leaders sitting together with security forces, the National Police Service. They sit together with the duty bearers like the magistrate and the Office of the Deputy Public Prosecution and other actors who sit in the referral pathway, whereby we were able to bring the doctor, and not any other doctor, specific doctors who deal with survivors who write reports at the health facilities on the issues of GBV. And we were also able to bring in the in charge who sits at the Gender-Based Recovery Center at the Coast General Hospital. And and also the Witness Protection Unit on board. So we created an accountability platform under the WVL, whereby these women leaders are leaders who support the community and the survivors on cases of SGBV so that they can access justice. And we have various challenges that we had realized from the work that we do, from the situation room that we had set up. And through this then, we were able to get the support from WVL and share the challenges. And we were able to create a platform where the National Police Service can sit in together with the magistrate and share some of the challenges, like an example whereby the case, a file could come from the ODPP back to the police, citing that the evidence is not sufficient, yet the police officer feels the evidence is sufficient and is not even understanding. The file has been brought back, but I am not able to see sufficient explanation as to why I am supposed to attach even more evidence. What more evidence do they require? And so in that platform, yes, they were able to mention that they don't have such sittings whereby the police are able to share with the ODPP and discuss about us when they have meetings, and each and every other time when Sauti ya Wanawake is required. So I don't have to be there personally as Beldin, even when I'm not there, but the women leaders are there to sit in those meetings, and we are able to follow up, and they're able to voice out things that are from the community that probably that probably does not require my input as a program officer. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. As I stated before, Potuma Women Peace Network is an organization of the locals, and since WVL and Crown Trust held our hand and assisted us where possible. Sometimes we reach a time whereby they don't have maybe capacity or finances, and because of the knowledge they have already passed to us and the resources we are built, so we use other structures to reach and to spell out our agenda. One, we made chapters in the 4 counties. Potuma chapters in Baringo, Potuma chapters in Marakwet, in Pokot, and in Turkana. And then again, we made what we call Potuma Chiefs Forum, whereby whenever there is an insecurity issue that is there, the Minister for Internal Security frequents those areas, Professor Kindiki. And when he comes, he reaches us through the Potuma Chiefs Forum, because he interacts with them directly, and we have our members there. So we spell out our issues through them, and at times he welcomes us or invites us to his office to come and connect us maybe to Interpeace and other organizations that are near him to assist us finances. Number 2, we are also using the county governments. County governments have started to accept us, and we work together. Whenever we have a meeting, even when we are in the interior, and Lonyangapuo, for instance, Professor hears that we are there, he will come to hear us. He will come to support us, even with his own pocket. He will come and beef security for us. Same to the other side of Turkana, same to the side of Marakwet, same to the side of West Pokot and Baringo. And sometimes back, I was a teacher. I was teaching in a school called Lukichere Girls. I was the head teacher there. A girl was defiled by a pastor who was, I think this space is safe for me. Yeah, defiled by a pastor who was a brother to the area MP, who later on became my first governor. So in this defilement, we came as women and took the matter to the courts. And the governor who was our MP then, assisted us so much. And there was a rule, there was a policy that was passed in Turkana then, that Bamba 20, when you defile a child, through as women, when you defile a child, you go 20 years in jail. There is a chief who has stayed there for 20 years until last year, 2023, is when he was released. And by then, Ecuador assisted us so much. And through that, you find that sometimes some of these politicians are so supportive. They say, even if it's my brother and he's a pastor again, let him just go there. Somehow you find out the community there because of we are hungry prone areas. We wait for Kenyan's foods. Now they go now and they go negotiate behind the family now goes and gets the pastor out after 6 years. So sometimes when we collaborate in chief's barasas, people get information and they know in every county, in every chief barasa, we have got Potuma women who are there, who can come and speak to women about the third gender principle, about GBV, about early marriages, and other vices, sexual harassments in those barasas. So they give us space. So that is the structures we are using. We also have Potuma youths. We have pastors or religious leaders for Potuma that are helping us to spell out our agenda and helping to improve our community. Those are the structures we are using to give out any information and using the resources given by WVL to give us, let's say, the confidence to stand in front of hostile communities and spell out our agenda as women from those regions.
Thank you very much, Stella, for that. And it's good that we can finally see a few politicians are useful in this society and they're not just MPs. Lastly, for Carol, as you talk to us about the strategies, we'd also want to hear how you're utilizing the platforms to ensure that the voices of the marginalized, the women who identify through various sexual orientation, are actually included in the platforms that you are in. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So one of the strategies that we have used considering criminalization laws in Kenya is being able to link all our local level advocacy efforts with regional and international human rights instruments. And we are very cognizant of the fact that regional and international human rights instruments and international laws form part of the laws of Kenya. And it is very clear that there are some very progressive human rights instruments and treaties that Kenya has signed onto. And we utilize these kinds of spaces to navigate and foster inclusion even at policy level. And we are very deliberate about being in various spaces. For instance, at CSW, through Women Voice and Leadership Program, Care Kenya supported us to participate in CSW 68 in New York, where we were able to even host a side event and share practices on how we as queer women from the grassroots navigate and also just bring voice to this kind of space that looks at women in all their diversities and in all totalities. So that is, for instance, CSW. Other than CSW, we've been able to engage with the high-level political forum that looks at sustainable development. We see that there is really a high increase in the anti-human rights and anti-rights movement. And this is not only for LBQ and ITGNC persons and women, this is for all persons and all women rights actually. So there is that deliberate efforts to regress on gains that women rights movement have, but also there is that kind of direct effort to attack issues around human rights. And the opposition is really, really strong, and they are nowadays speaking our language. They're speaking the rights language. So how then do we navigate? By also like including issues around development. SDGs have been signed by all nations, all countries have signed against SDGs, and just 2 weeks ago, all nations were in New York to sign on the Summit of the Future, to sign on the Pact of the Future, the Declaration for Future Generations, and also the digital compact. And this is a space where, like, countries were showing goodwill to turbocharge on SDGs. And when we just don't look at the human rights perspective, but also how does this affect the development perspective? And the development perspective is, you know, it has the goodwill of governments and it has the goodwill of other people. So we have been really deliberate in engaging at the Summit of the Future and the Summit of the Future conversations, even when there was the Summit of the Future CSOs convening that was hosted by Kenya in Nairobi. We were deliberate about taking up these spaces and ensuring that sexual and gender minority women issues are brought up on this space. And finally, Kenya is coming up for review for the Universal Periodic Review in May next year. And this period, the deadline is, I think, tomorrow, for submission of shadow reports by CSOs, by the government, by, you know, by UN bodies, so that you can, these can highlight the human rights situation of the country. And the beauty of the UPR is that whether countries have ratified treaties or they haven't ratified those treaties, but then all human rights are able to be reviewed, and it's a peer review process. So when we as LGBTI organizations came together and did a first of its kind shadow report that brings together over 40 organizations to just highlight human rights situations of LGBTI persons in the country. And also an approach that we used when it comes to recommendations is look at laws, look at policy recommendations that have multiplier effects, so that we don't only look at single identity issues. We don't look at our sexual orientation or gender identity as the only issue we are highlighting. We highlight issues that are cross-cutting, and that is why I talked about intersectionality in the beginning. We have so many layers of marginalization that needs to be addressed. When you look at Truka, you don't only look at their sexual orientation or gender identity. I am a woman, I am a parent, I am from the grassroots, and all these layers of disadvantage pose some disadvantage onto me as a queer person. So when we also look at laws and policies, we look at laws and policies with multiplier effect for all marginalized persons, for all vulnerable communities. Looking at health equity, how does that then bring on board everyone in all their diversities? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I hope from that conversation you've been able to see that we must now start connecting our rights to other rights, right? Social economic rights, cultural rights. How does that, because one issue will have a multiplier effect. And also I'm hoping you've been able also to pick up that networks and alliance building do create friendships. Have you been able to pick that? A majority in this room are actually friends because they met through network and alliances. And I'm looking at some of them, I just want to mention names. Privacy data. And then lastly, I hope you've also been able to pick on the issue of self-esteem. This is where we come, and by the time we are going home, we feel that we have been renewed, right? So last question, and I would kindly request you that you just, please 1 minute. How best, one point, can we sustain the doing? 1 minute, please. Thanks.
And this is the time that I will take to also recognize that through our presentation, we were all visibility. We talked about wanting to be out there, but I did not really quite hear us how we are working with media. Association of Media Women in Kenya is here to give you the journalists, for them to report accurately and articulately all your issues, representing them at the highest levels of media platforms. That's starting from the community to the national space. So what am I saying? A lot of collaboration with the media for visibility and also to sustain the conversations of what it is that we want to do. I will leave us with one takeaway, and I'm hoping that all of us will tune to KTN starting next week, where we'll be discussing G7 to G24, and Amwik is taking it in highlighting the successes, the styles of leadership, and the political journey of the 7 women governors, and how, as media, we are propelling them to the next level. So my key takeaway here is I collaborate with Amwick. If you do not have our contacts, we are very popular on social media. You can get us there. You can also look for Crown Trust and ask them, that media organization, we are there. We are your people. Please come to us. We will link you with journalists who we train to articulate issues in a manner that would befit your cause. Thank you.
Thank you. How we sustain the momentum. For me, one thing we can do or we should do that is key for me is communication, communication, communication. Just keeping our communication lines open. We don't have to maybe wait until Care and Crew and Crown Trust calls us here. That's when, last year I saw you. I think you were here last year. Yeah. So how do we just within ourselves in this space and also going back home with the people that we work with, open the communication lines. And remember yesterday, we got from the donor platform that it's key and consortiums are the way to go. We cannot have consortiums, you cannot have collaborations if we are not communicating. So I think the best thing that you can keep to keep this momentum going is just communication, because when we communicate, we learn from each other every day, rather than wait that we come here and then people are talking and then we are just getting to learn that what's going on. You cannot know everything that is going on. You cannot know everything that is current unless you are told. And you cannot also be told unless you ask. Just like in any relationship, ranging from our love relationships, communication is one thing that kills relationships. So for us to keep this going forward, for us to continue in this together, even after WVL, communication is key.
I would say that we can sustain the momentum by identifying a common agenda as women. Just find out what works for us, and we'll be able to push that as a network of women. And I know if we have an agenda and we agree, it would go far and will be done.
Thank you. Mine is to say, just to appreciate and recognize each and everyone's effort. We might be working in different counties, but our target is the same: women, girls, children, and we might be working in the same areas but in different counties. When we come together, we can always come together and do things jointly at the national level or jointly in our counties, and leveraging on our strengths. We might be doing the same things, but my strength as Sauti ya Wanawake could be different with what Palawama is doing or Amwick. So when we leverage on our strengths, we might realize that at the end of the day, we could do things with very minimal budgets, because then I could work on what my strength in, and she brings what her strength in. And at the end of the day, we will still achieve and we will still support our women. Thank you.
Thank you very much. For us, we need a lot of networking, and such a forums build us so much, because when I go from here, the information I get here, whatever resources I get from here, I have to go and share with them. Number two, we need the donor community to assist us, to treat us as the most vulnerable and the most down organization or network that needs to be held hand, so that they can be like the rest of the organizations. We need exchange visits, so that whenever we talk about issues of peace, as in Turkana we border international borders. We are nearer to Ethiopia, we are nearer to Sudan, and we are nearer to Uganda. So it's nearer for us to have meetings with them. What about our brothers in West Pokot, Marakwet, and so that we go and see how the Turkanas and the Toposas and the Karamojong buried the hatchets. As women, we go there and see how our cultures are done and how these vices are buried. Also, we have also been in talking mode with the county governments and county assemblies And we managed as Potuma to get some chief officers, some CECs in the county governments, which the governors mandate them to take care of Potuma in their dockets. Personally, I was a chief officer in charge of culture and tourism. Then I was transferred to finance and economic planning. And the governor Nanok then tells, now Stella, you are here, you have been crying issues of women, now you have gotten resource-based departments. Can you make use of that so that you can help your women? Unfortunately, when the administration changes, your contracts are also terminated. But my CEO, my deputy CEO, she's a CEC in Baringo, using the Potuma and even resources and even information that capacity building by the WVL that helps us to go and bargain the 2/3 gender principle for us as Potuma, and also women who are in the county assemblies. We have got members who are our patrons county assemblies through Potuma. So you see, then what we get from here helps us a lot there. And we like you to go ahead, continue ahead, and hold our hands properly now and take us higher, even take us to Canada. Thanks.
Take us to Canada, okay. So thank you so much. I would say that for us to maintain the momentum, one thing that we deliberately do is be on the table, show up on the table, ensure you're on the table, and then be deliberate about being there. So that said, as a feminist, it would be bad if I come out of this space without really thanking Ms. Getonga for just the teaching moment. I think it has been a teaching moment around disability etiquette, and I'm really grateful that you took that opportunity to teach us. And to Lucy, we are really sorry that you had to go through that. I think also this is a space of learning, and I'm very sure we have learned. It took you to be undignified for us to learn, but I'm very sure we have learned, and we will definitely do better. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Let's all clap for these beautiful, competent women. And so I want to open up this space for just 5 comments. Just 5 comments, feedback, questions. This is your time. I see Vera has her hand up.
Check 1, 2. All right, so let's stand up kwanza. Tumekaka sana. Tusimame. Some of us are almost sleeping. We need the questions to come with energy. Stand up. Tusimame. Uko nyuma, kule nyuma. Let's stand up. All right, so just stretch, up, stretch. Take it to the right side and stretch. Okay, take it to the wrong side and stretch. Okay, stretch backwards. Come on, so I want to teach you something simple and common. You all know it, and maybe some of you don't know it. And then from that, we shall sit down, okay? So hands up like this. We're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Ta. And then, chicken dance. And then when I say in groups of, you go and group yourselves. And then you ask each other, what's your favorite food? Tarudi hapo. Just in 2 minutes, okay? 2 minutes and then we sit down. So let's go. We need energy for the questions. All right, hands up. Haya, weka tu hapo. Twende. Shoulders, twist, clap, bring it up, shoulders, twist, clap, bring it up, shoulders, twist, clap, bring it up, shoulders, in groups of 4, enda kwa groups of 4, groups of 4, 4 people hapo. Interact as you move along. Dance kidogo in that group. Come on. Aya, turudi tena mikono juu, hands up. 1, 2, 3. Shoulders. Twist. Clap. Hands up. Shoulders. Twist. Clap. Hands up. shoulders. Twist, twist. Now different people, groups of 6. Different people, groups of 6. Groups of 6. All right. Fantastic. Okay, DJ. Give them a high five and go back to your seats. Wacha tumalize tuende lunch. We'll come back and finish. Go back to your seats. We are on the Q&A section and we had a hand here. Let's settle down, let's settle.
So, my question to all of you, the first question is on, as we look forward,
concise.
Okay. As we look on empowering women, how do we support them in matters political participation? Because we've seen majority of the counties, personally in my county, 35 wards, only 3 women there. So how do we support women participation in political processes? And then I'm on working on silos, especially supporting policies. We've had policies issues in my county. Specifically, this question is for Beldina. Yeah, so how have you maneuvered? Because we'll find that this particular policy, the county government works with a particular CSO. And then it comes again, it works with another particular CSO. So you will find that like 10 CSOs working on the same policies, like supporting that policy. And I want to congratulate CRU because the issue of GBV Act and the GBV policies, they are the ones who started that processes. Right now we have the GBV Act and the GBV policies, but we don't have implementation framework. So what are we supposed to do, or what are the way forward on the same? Thank you.
Any other? Okay, Lucy, thank you.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
I have a question, but I want to also start by saying that Kitonga talked about disability etiquette. It is true. But in the absence of accessibility, we really need to get a solution, and us people with disabilities should be part of that solution. So let nobody feel guilty, because again, for Lucy, I am a veteran, you know, and for me it is not an issue of, I didn't feel bad because I was even telling them how to, you know, handle me. So let us just understand that we really need to look for accessible venues so that we avoid such, because in the next time maybe it will not be Lucy and that person may feel bad, you know. But for me, niko sawa. Anyway, my question now goes to the panelists, and I want to know from them, in these alliances that they have and networks, how do they make sure that people with disabilities, and especially women and girls with disabilities, are part of those networks and they are given the space that they want and that they are enabled to participate meaningfully. I always like saying that word, meaningfully, because you don't just participate. And how intentional are they to make sure that that inclusion of people with disability is not just to show off, but it will enable them also to grow with them if they are in their movements. And if they are not in their movements, what are they planning to ensure that they onboard them?
Right. Thank you very much. Is there any? Yes, I can see a hand there from Blink.
Good afternoon. Mine is, I want to appreciate Madam Kitonga for the bill on children, inclusivity of children in schools. But according to what Lucy said, including PWDs in your organizations, would be important, but I would also challenge the partners, kindly, as you deal with the organizations of women, kindly introduce something like sensitization on inclusivity, so that planning for the groups to attend the trainings or whatever meetings you plan, and including PWDs in your meeting, could not be enough unless you understand the whole idea. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I think now the last hand is this gentleman.
Okay, maybe I wanted to ask, how do you engage young people and youths in this engagement? I like the aspect of meaningful youth engagement, so that even as you continue within the space, they are able to participate even beyond the processes.
All right, thank you. I think let's just take that round also in the interest of time. If you will need to ask any question to any of the panelists, we're about to go for lunch. You can have further discussions on that. And so, Amwik, you will start with the first one on political. And then Ms. Gitonga, you'll address the issues that have been raised on PWDs. Beldin on the issues around the policies. And then we'll have Evelyn talking a little bit about the youth, as well as Potuma, a little bit about the youth. 2 minutes, please, if you can. Thanks.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Thank you for the question about supporting women in politics. AMWIC has quite been on the forefront in that regard, and especially just working with women and the electoral bodies to identify issues around GBV, especially during electoral processes, and that has led to the changes that went into the electoral acts. Act on electoral reforms. Yeah, we also do have capacity strengthening sessions, and especially for media publicity for women politicians. And I can proudly talk about Naisula Bensouda. I can talk about Cecily Mbarire, the Honorable, who have been part of our mentorship process in terms of how they portray themselves within the media spaces, and how they articulate their issues even in media, and how to be media ready, which is another whole component where women actually miss out.